Good afternoon and welcome to this, the final debate presented by the City Club of Cleveland in this very important pre-primary election cycle. I'm Jim Foster, Executive Director of the City Club. The City Club has a great heritage of hosting debates for public office. Last fall, the citizens of Cuyahoga County voted on two propositions, issues 5 and 6. And the overwhelming result of that election was that Cuyahoga County would chart a new course of governance. Primary among the reforms was to have a single elected county executive and a legislative body of 11 elected representatives to provide leadership for Cuyahoga County. Today, the City Club begins looking at one of those legislative races, District 3. Here at the City Club, we go face-to-face, in person and in depth, and you, the audience and voters, get to ask the questions. Many thanks to those of you who are here and those watching and listening to our webcasts and podcasts. 60 minutes will go by very quickly, so let's proceed. I'm serving as the moderator for today's debate, and Carrie Miller will be the timekeeper. There are 6 names on the ballot, and we are delighted to welcome the 4 candidates who are here today. Fauzi Badur, a translator by profession, he has been elected and served as Democratic Party Precinct Committeeman for the past 14 years. Dan Brady has served as a member of Cleveland City Council, Ohio State Representative, and Ohio State Senator. Patty Gascoigne is currently a homemaker. Ms. Gascoigne has been elected to the Central Committee of the Republican Party in both Broadview Heights and Cleveland, and Ms. Gascoigne is the only Republican on the District 3 ticket. And finally, Chris Renane. Mr. Renane is currently president of University Circle, Inc., and was previously City Planning Director and Chief Planning Officer and Chief Development Officer and Chief of Staff for the City of Cleveland. The rules for the opening portion of this debate are each candidate has a total of 5 minutes for both an opening statement and a rebuttal. It's their choice as to how they'll divide the time. Again, we'll hear from each twice, opening statements and rebuttal, total of 5 minutes. After opening and rebuttal, I'll ask a couple of follow-up questions, and then we will have the traditional questions from the audience, and finally, a closing question. We're very pleased to welcome the audience with us here today, and many of you support one or the other of these candidates, and we appreciate your giving everyone a chance to be heard. The order of presentation was determined by a drawing a few minutes ago. Mr. Brady will present first.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I am Dan Brady, and I hope to be a founding member of the new County Council. I plead guilty to being a lifelong political activist, sometimes a public servant, and sometimes honored to be a public official. While I've been involved in political movements and politics since I was a teenager, I began my political career, so to speak, as a community organizer for the Ohio Public Interest Campaign, working first in Akron, then in Columbus, and then in Cleveland. We worked mostly on economic justice issues, utility reform, and tax fairness. Came to Cleveland in 1979. I've been living on Cleveland's west side for over 30 years now. I then worked for an honest county auditor, J. Timothy McCormick, where I got what I call my undergraduate degree in county government. Worked in several capacities for Mr. McCormick in that office and finally became the consumer advocate for the county. A lot of people don't know that the county is charged by the state with enforcing consumer law. I was elected to the Cleveland City Council in 1985. That was my most challenging and most satisfying job, which I had for 10 years. Among other things, I was able to launch a local development corporation, which still exists, fortunately. I was able to rehabilitate the only working ice skating rink in the city of Cleveland. And in 1990, I became the chairman of the Public Utilities Committee, where I oversaw the expansion of the Cleveland Public Power System that I had fought for previously, and was able to be part of the negotiations of the cable franchise agreement, which allowed me to be able to provide $700,000 for the Cleveland Public Theater on Detroit Avenue, and be, in a modest way, part of the reform of that area that has taken place over many years. I had the honor as well to serve in the Ohio legislature, both in the Ohio House and in the Ohio Senate. That was a challenging situation. I was deep in the minority during those 10 years. When I first arrived down there, we had veterans in the major offices. The Speaker of the House was Davidson. The Senate President was Finan. These were mature and experienced public officials, and even though they're more conservative than I am, I found them easy to work with, and I enjoyed the work quite a bit. As a Democrat, I worked mostly on issues about education funding and health care. But as the time went by and term limits kicked in, a new breed of, forgive my partisan friends, Republicans came into the State House with very little experience, and they were much more ideological. They chaired committees and served in leadership positions, and they were much more contentious and much more partisan, and it became a lot less interesting. I finally was an advisor to Mayor Jackson in the Cleveland Public Power System and helped work with consultants on a plan for the future of the Cleveland Public Power System, and I retired from public service in 2007. I have very much enjoyed the break. I was able to travel extensively, be able to do reflection that I guess it had been, maybe since I was 5 that I had the opportunity to do. But I was anxious to get back involved because this is what I've done my whole life. I worked for the President Obama's campaign very hard, and look forward to the opportunity to serve in the new county government. I remember, I'm old enough to remember, the first comments that President Ford made on the resignation of Richard Nixon, and that was that our long national nightmare is over. Well, I know for a lot of us, this has been a long local nightmare of political corruption in the county. And we've asked each other many times, how long? Well, we're fortunately at the point now where we can say, not long. On September 7th, we'll be winnowing a lot of the candidates out of the race. On November the 2nd, we will be electing our new government. And on January the 1st, we will have a new county government, a new beginning for Cuyahoga County. I know I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure you are as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. And now we'll have opening remarks from Mr. Badur.
Good afternoon. I'm Fawzi Badur. Jim forgot to mention my community. This is the most important to me, that I've been described as the long-time community activist. My presence with the community is the most important thing to me. I like to mention Chris' friends here. I see them everywhere in every debate. I love you guys. I hope you'll be with me after September 7th. And one thing, because this is the last debate, I want to say something about Chris, Dan, and Betty. Chris, I know him before. I'm honored to know him. Dan and Betty, I'm really humble and honored to get to know them. And whatever happened after September 7th, I hope you guys will stay friends. I'm running for county council for one reason. One reason only is to have a government, a compassionate government. The government that we knew, actually, and we voted it out back in November, I always compared it to bed bugs. They both suck people's blood. And this is, thanks God, is over, and a new government going to be formed after this year, after the end of the year.